Welcome to FRC Media News for Thursday, April 21st, 2022. I'm Keith Tebow. Former Fall River Mayor Jasiel Correia will now need to report to prison by tomorrow on his federal convictions. Fall River's school superintendent embraces the challenges of leading the district, and Battleship Cove is set for another season of visitors. All this and more coming up. The U.S. First Circuit Court of Appeals yesterday denied a motion by former Fall River Mayor Jasiel Correia to stay his sentence pending an appeal of his convictions of fraud and extortion. He is now scheduled to report to prison by noon tomorrow. U.S. District Court Judge Douglas Woodlock had provided temporary stays of sentencing since December, citing Correia's family commitments and concerns over COVID infections at the prison. Woodlock denied the permanent stay earlier this month and ordered Correa to begin serving his 6-year sentence at a prison in Berlin, New Hampshire. Local attorney Stephen Saber says the appellate court judges had a specific metric by which to decide whether Correa was entitled to stay out of prison.
And they had to find that there was a substantial question of law or fact that would result in either a reversal or order of new trial, or a sentence that did not involve imprisonment. So it's a fairly high burden, as it's stated in the law. And what they found was that they agreed with Judge Woodlock, and they affirmed his decision that there wasn't a substantial question of law or fact that would lead to likely is the key word, likely lead to either reversal of the convictions or an order of new trial or an order of a new trial. I think the significant part of it is how does it look now for his appeal in chief? And I would say that it kind of does not really bode well for his appeal in chief, meaning that, remember, we're still in the middle of the appeal at this point.
Many in the community will likely get some satisfaction in seeing the former mayor serve time for his convictions. In terms of the process of Correia's appeals, Saber says it works.
He's entitled to the same benefits of the law as anyone else, as much as this has been frustrating for members of the public. It's really what he did here was what the law allowed, which is to file a motion for new trial, to file a motion for stay of sentence. And to me, I think it shows that the system actually does work, because he was allowed the opportunity to do what the law allows, and to file a motion and to appeal the denial to the First Circuit. But despite all of that, and despite all the appeals, the law is going to require him to report to prison on April 22nd.
Correa was convicted last May of 21 federal counts of fraud in relation to his Snow Owl app business, and extortion and conspiracy in interactions with prospective marijuana retailers looking to open a business in Fall River. Correa's appeal before the First Circuit will likely be heard later this spring. Last week, the Fall River School Committee rewarded Superintendent Maria Ponce by coming to terms on a 4-year contract. Ponce says she's ready to put in the effort to move the district forward. Ponce became interim superintendent last July following the resignation of Matthew Malone. She was appointed to the job permanently earlier this year. During an interview this week, Ponce says she's grateful for the support of the school committee and is looking forward to stabilizing the department following the controversy surrounding Malone's tenure in office.
Putting people at ease and saying, okay, so this is, everybody was kind of waiting to see, are we going to go through yet another change? Because then we need to build some traction, right? And every time you have a change, there's time for acquainting the person to acquaint themselves with the district, with what's going on, and then moving forward. So there's a reset every single time. So hopefully we're just going to hit the ground running and continue the work as opposed to restarting the work. So I think that's reassuring to people.
Coming off remote and hybrid learning caused by the pandemic, one of the biggest problems facing city schools is closing the learning gaps caused by students not meeting in person. Ponce says there are no easy fixes to closing those gaps, and progress will need to be made incrementally.
We're continuing to work on providing kids with opportunities for support, academic support, before school, after school, during school. We're working with teachers. We're also providing some standards, grade level standards, high quality instructional materials, and really working with teachers on how to support students where they are, meet them where they are, but also not creating another gap on the other end, right? So sometimes we get so focused on the remediation type of thing that we focus on remediating and we forget about providing kids with grade level standard work that where they should be. So we're creating a gap at the top and closing the gap on the bottom, and we need to balance that. And that's a tough balancing act. Teachers have worked really, really hard all year, and it really has been an exceptional year for demand in regards to what they need to do.
One indicator on how the district is succeeding is the results of the yearly MCAS tests, which are being administered this month and next.
Really, what MCAS should do is should validate what's happening or not happening and should support the work moving forward. So that's how we're going to look at it. It's an opportunity to grow. We get our MCAS results, we look at it, we dig into it, we compare it to our results from other assessments, and then we say, okay, so where does the work need to be and what is our focus? That's what, good instruction should look like. It should be formative, and we're looking at it and growing from it. So we're looking forward to seeing what our kids, it's different, right? So our kids haven't had a typical MCAS for the last couple of years. It's been modified, so we're getting back into the routine, the stamina piece. I was in schools while they were administering. The stamina piece is something that we have to get reacquainted with, and the kids were focused and they were working hard, so looking forward to it.
We'll hear more from the superintendent next week as we ask her about some of the opportunities and challenges facing the school district. A city council committee this week sought an update from the Coogan administration on the status of hiring a city tourism director. The call for a director has been made by many a past mayor and city council. Mayor Paul Coogan tells us there is a move for the city to provide support in promoting city tourism opportunities.
The best way to handle it is to see what Fall River should do to maximize their efforts. And that, to that end, right now, the Chamber of Commerce, I talked to Mike Sullivan about it the other day. Again, they're doing a proposal right now. We have a number of groups in Fall River that are promoting Fall River, whether it's Viva Fall River, whether it's specifically Ashley down at the Chamber, whether it's Elena in my office. And a number of these groups work together to coordinate events, promote the city. And obviously I thought we did a bang up job last summer, just coming out of COVID, to put on a number of positive events in the city from the 4th of July right through Labor Day. And I think that if that's what we can do, then we should. I'm not sure about a tourism director right now. I knew at one point New Bedford was still looking for one. I don't know if they've hired someone yet. So we're gonna see what the proposal is that comes forward and find the best way to advertise our city and make it more tourist friendly.
In terms of promoting local events to visitors, Mayor Coogan says the city is in the process of updating its website.
If we're going to redo the city website, we had to go out to vendors. We interviewed 3 companies that do websites across the country. We've kind of settled on one, and that was one of the issues we brought to the forefront with them. The ability in-house to update these sites in real time, whether it's someone to pay a bill or whether it's to put up an event that's around this weekend that people may want to go to. We stressed that across the board, and obviously we looked at a number of the websites that these companies each did, which communities, they had already represented on the web, and I think we settled on a company that may do some nice things for the city.
The city of Fall River has seen an uptick in COVID infection cases over the past week, with 72 cases reported over the past week, up from 41 the week prior. City Director of Health and Human Services Tess Curran says case numbers can be deceiving and are only a part of what health officials are tracking when it comes to the pandemic.
We're averaging about 9 cases a day, so that's good, but we certainly are concerned with the number of folks who are taking the at-home test, so we don't necessarily have the accurate picture of how many cases we're seeing throughout the city on a daily and weekly basis. We are seeing kind of a low level of hospitalizations, which is great. We do see that people who are hospitalized and are in the ICU, there's more likelihood that they are unvaccinated, which again goes to the data shows that it's important for us to consider vaccinations if you haven't already. And as well as the wastewater data, which is utilized throughout Massachusetts and nationally to kind of see where we're headed in terms of the numbers of the wastewater going up.
Even though health officials are keeping an eye on spikes in cases and hospitalizations, the time of the year works toward reducing any spread.
The positive thing is we're going into spring, so people can be more outdoors, they can see people, in their yards, whereas back in January we were all inside. The hope is that more people do seek vaccinations, they do seek the booster, and that more, fingers crossed for under 5 kids coming online in the next, month or two, that those new individuals will be eligible, and that will increase the number of folks vaccinated in the community, which gives a greater protection to all of us.
As long as conditions remain the same and there are no new COVID variants of note, Ms. Curran feels COVID will likely be viewed as another seasonal ailment once the weather turns colder.
We can anticipate that as people go inside or during holiday seasons where more people are gathering together, that we'd likely see, a spike. I'm curious to see what our rates are going to be over the next, week or two with April vacation and, Easter and Passover and other holidays. We may see an increase, which just again goes to show that folks need to monitor their symptoms. If you are symptomatic at all, or if you've been around somebody with COVID, it's important that you get a test or test at home, and then you quarantine, provided that test comes back positive.
Vaccination rates in Fall River remain low compared to the rest of the state, with only 62% of residents fully vaccinated and 47% receiving the COVID booster. Ms. Curran says frvax.com is still the best way to find a vaccination clinic. She recommends all who can should heed public health advice in remaining vaccinated.
It's hard to say what the CDC and will recommend, but there is talk about it being more of like a seasonal flu vaccine that everybody should get around October, when that season really begins. So we'll have to see, but the hope is that people will stay up to date with their vaccination. So getting that 3rd booster and then getting the 4th booster if you're eligible to do so is really important, just to continue to protect yourself.
A federal judge this week rescinded the mask mandate for the country's airports and other forms of public transportation. Many airlines and transit systems have now issued voluntary mask requirements. That includes the Southeastern Regional Transit Authority, which provides public bus service in Fall River and the South Coast. Unemployment in Fall River took a sharp dip in the month of March. The jobless rate slid to 7.4%, down from 8.6% in February. Last year, the unemployment rate in March was 11.2%. The surrounding communities all saw unemployment declines, as did cities of similar size to Fall River. The state's unemployment rate in March fell 0.4% to 4.3%. Next week is Youth Violence Prevention Week, a national effort to bring awareness on ways to reduce violence among youth through positive messages and support.
This is only 1 week that we're raising awareness, but it's a year-long effort. We're not going to solve peace in just one week, but it's also reaching out to the partners on what they're doing that they can tie into the overall effort. It's really based on the premise of promoting positive youth development. And so all our initiatives are around positive youth development, increasing the protective factors, the caring adults, the safe places, the opportunities to be involved in decreasing risk factors, so of which violence is one of the risk factors. So it's just getting the youth engaged, surrounding them but with as many caring adults as possible, and whether it's the programming at the Boys and Girls Club, the YMCA, or recreation, or giving back to their community through a cleanup or a soup kitchen, it's just occupying the time with positive opportunities.
We have a sad follow-up to a story we brought to you last month. 102-year-old World War II veteran Joe Bucko passed away last weekend. You may remember students at the Atlantis Charter School celebrated Mr. Bucko's birthday by presenting him with handmade cards as he paraded around campus. We extend our deepest sympathy to Mr. Bucko's family during this time of grief. We'll have more FRC Media News right after this.
Here are some job descriptions on the latest hot jobs list from the Mass Hire Fall River Career Center. Virtual Legal Assistant. Farias Family Law, located at 277 Bedford Street, seeks a part-time virtual legal assistant responsible for utilizing technology to manage calendaring, e-filings, forms, emails, and contact data. Job number 166-42760. Registered Nurse Clinical Manager. Kindred Healthcare, located at 1748 Highland Avenue, is looking for a full-time registered nurse clinical manager to coordinate and oversee all direct care patient services provided by clinical personnel. Job number 166-44635. Customer Service Supervisor. Bank 5, located at 79 North Main Street, is seeking a full-time customer support supervisor responsible for day-to-day operations of the department and to perform a wide variety of administrative and clerical duties. Job number 166-46656. Dental Assistant, Dentistry in the Highlands, located at 673 Robeson Street, is looking for a full-time dental assistant. For more information, call 508-676-8268. Mikel Incorporated, located at 589 Commerce Drive, has an immediate need for the following full and part-time positions. Electrical Engineer, job number 166-44543. Quality Engineer, job number 166-44544. For more information about these or other positions, visit Mass Hire JobQuest at jobquest.dcs.eol.mass.gov or call the Mass Hire Fall River Career Center at 508-730-5000.
Welcome back. Tomorrow is Earth Day, and the city of Fall River is kicking off its city cleanup season with a pair of events.
We have back-to-back cleanups. We're going to try to do a stretch of downtown and hit Columbia Street and a few other areas on the 22nd. Our Congressman Jake Auchincloss is going to be joining us for the cleanup. You can meet at City Hall Plaza at 1 o'clock on Friday. Be a couple hours. We're not trying to overwork people. 1 to 3. We'll do some stretches around downtown and a couple other hot spots. And then on Saturday, we'll be at Chew Park from 10 to 12 with another cleanup down there to try to get Globe Four Corners cleaned up and obviously some of the feeder streets. These are very important leading into the big citywide cleanup that we'll probably be doing in June. And again, if people want to come out and pitch in, we'd love to have the help. And it makes Fall River a little cleaner, a little better place to live. And we appreciate the support.
Battleship Cove has begun its 2022 spring and summer season with an eye toward improving affordability. The museum has joined Museums for All, which allows for discounted admission for those who might not otherwise be able to afford to visit.
This program that we've opted into means that if you are someone who receives food assistance, such as SNAP, you can come to Battleship Cove and just show your card with an ID. We don't track it, we just make sure the IDs match. And you can get admissions to the Battleship for $3 a person. We do two adults, 3 children. And it's a way to make us more accessible and to make sure that everyone has a chance to come to the battleship. So it's not a revenue driver for us. We're not in it for that mission at all. We just want to make sure as many people can experience Battleship Cove as possible. One, it's hard to be a tourist in your own town. It's really hard to go to things, they're right there, you always think you go. But this means that, it doesn't matter coming out of the pandemic if money's tight. A lot of people have lost their jobs or coming back into it, or if you have disabilities or something like that, we don't want to make sure that you can still come here no matter what. Like, this is Fall River's battleship. Like, this, we've been here since 1965, and we want to be that institution in the community that people can come to and have a good time and come spend time with their families and learn about the ships while they're here. But, we're trying to be that pillar of the community.
Ms. Rathburn says after 2 years of attendance declines due to the pandemic, there's plenty on the plate for patrons to enjoy at the museum as it heads into the summer.
Obviously, Memorial Day is one of the first big ones we have, our ceremony every year on Memorial Day. And then going into the summer, we're going to continue, the World War II weekend we did at the end of summer last year will happen again. We're going to do a Vietnam weekend and a Korea weekend. Again, there'll be reenactors on site for those days, and that'll be a lot of fun. We're looking for 4th of July again this year, being able to see the fireworks from the ship, which is the best view, let me tell you. Can't beat it. And then we also have a new exhibit opening in the middle of the summer. It's for our helicopters. So we have 2 helicopters on site, and we've gotten a very generous grant from the Massachusetts Office of Travel and Tourism to build a hangar to put them in to protect them from the weather. So again, midsummer we'll be opening that new exhibit. So if people have come before and they want to see something new, that's the middle of the summer. Just keep that on your calendar.
Along with all the activities, visitors will notice the fleet undergoing some much-needed repairs.
We're going to start doing work on the Massachusetts herself, thanks to a very generous grant from the state through the ARPA program, the American Rescue Plan, that came out as a result of COVID. So we got some funding through the state, which we are incredibly grateful for, and that's going to allow us to undertake some work directly on the Massachusetts hull. So if you keep your eye out, especially those people who drive down and see the ship from up on the hill, you'll see starting in the next month or so some work taking place. On the Kennedy, we're undertaking deck work right now to replace and repair some of her steel decks. We've been removing tile on there and replacing that. We've just redone the wardroom floor in the Massachusetts. We've replaced it with we put some epoxy down, which is really long lasting, is going to help us preserve that there. And then we're just doing general work all over the ship. So as you come by, especially on the weekends, you'll see our volunteers all over the place doing work on all the ships.
We'll wrap up this edition of FRC Media News right after this.
Hi, welcome to Hot Dogs and Cool Cats. Today we have Washington. Washington, despite his size, he's pretty great, after his namesake. He's a 3-year-old Shih Tzu mix. Still very much acts like a puppy, very energetic. As you can see, he loves to play, loves to go on walks. He's actually really enthusiastic about his walks to the point where you definitely would want a harness. See, you can see he kind of does his soft mouthing and whatnot, but it doesn't hurt or anything like that. Very much loves his toys. When in the absence of the toys, you can see he does do the soft mouthing a lot. But you get a tennis ball, you get a squeaky toy, that kind of stuff, he goes nuts for that kind of thing. He would actually do fine with cats. As far as kids in the home, we are trying to find somebody that has children at least 12 or older, because he does still have a lot of energy, does still need a lot of work. So if you'd like to meet Washington, you can come down to 300 Linwood Street in Fall River, Massachusetts at Forever Paws Animal Shelter.
This is Oscar. He is a 2-year-old domestic short-haired. He is neutered and up to date with all of his vaccines. As you can tell, he's very playful. He also would be a great companion if you were to go on hikes. He'd be very open to harness training. He loves going outside on our cat patio. He's very, very active. He is a cat that probably would do good in a home with probably older children, just because he does play a little rough. He also can be sassy sometimes. If you are interested in Oscar, you could go to our website, foreverpaws.com, and fill out an application at Forever Paws Animal Shelter.
That's all for this edition of FRC Media News. Please visit our website at frmedia.org for all the latest news and information. FRC Media News airs Thursdays at 6 p.m. and Fridays at 5:30 p.m. For all of us here at FRC Media News, I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.